Our next entrepreneur, I have no background on him, Matthew Stockard, founder and chief executive of Chef Matt. And let's just see what he has to say. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
All right,
Good stuff. Welcome.
most definitely. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I go by Chef Matt. Catered a lot of the top cannabis events in the industry over the last few years. I own a manufacturing company. We manufacture food products on the cannabis side. We manufacture everything food-based, basically, from gummies to coffee creamer, bread, anything you can think of. We're trying to be the go-to company for food products and CBD and cannabis space. And I don't know where that noise is coming from, but yeah. Any questions? Any questions?
I'm gonna actually start us off. Can you tell me like a little more specifically, your catering, tell me about the business model. You're catering, you've got products. How many people do you have? Are you revenue positive? That kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, we're revenue positive. We white label for about 4 companies right now. Have a couple more purchase orders that we're dealing with right now. And the goal is to focus on manufacturing. The catering and stuff is not, a big deal, but that's how we got started and, built a brand by catering, by using our own products. And now it's all about the products and building, a product company.
And is it just California or are you nationwide?
We're statewide. We're shipping, lots of states, licensed in Oklahoma for cannabis and doing a licensing deal here in California and looking to do licensing deals in other states versus going and acquiring the license there, save a lot of money by doing licensing deals, taking the same recipe and format and system and just applying it in other states.
And are you looking for funding?
Yes, we are.
You want to tell me a little more about?
Yeah, we're looking to raise about $1 million bucks. We're looking for 600 to go more towards cannabis and 400 to go towards the CBD side of things.
Okay, judges, who wants to jump in?
How many people on staff at the company, Matt? You mentioned you had operations outside of California. So across the U.S., how big is the team?
Well, we have 12 here in California, and in Oklahoma, the staff there, it just depends on, what the company, we did a licensing deal with a company in Oklahoma, and I'm not quite sure how many employees that they have there on a day-to-day, but I would imagine anywhere about 10.
Matt, Nick here. Thanks for at least presenting here. I like companies that kind of start from one thing and go to another, especially like the consumer package side. California, Oklahoma, very different markets when it comes to 9,000 cultivators. Oklahoma's kind of a mess when it comes to a regulatory medical program, but which is good for your company because you can pretty much make Reach Your Pops or anything. But help me understand, if you're doing the catering and you don't have these licenses, if you're physically possessing the cannabis or infusing certain goods, is it just for private event catering or to actually be sold as a packaged good in a dispensary?
Again, we're not talking about catering at all. Catering was how we got started in the industry, but we're not really catering anymore. Now we're a product company. We manufacture olive oil, honey, peanut butter and jelly, all, ketchup, mustard, stuff like that now. So we've moved on from catering. So catering is not even a thing anymore for us.
Then you're infusing, I kind of like this. I've never heard of infused mustard, but so cannabis infused products like culinary additions that would then be sold in dispensaries or?
Correct.
So then from a licensing standpoint, did you by chance make a Delaware C corporation that owns the intellectual property to structure those licensing deals? Those are awesome. Where there's brand licensing, they have a licensing contract, licensing agreement, reoccurring revenues. But you want to make sure if you don't have the license, you don't touch the product with your company.
Correct.
So how do you do the licensing? What's your plans there?
So we kind of do an intellectual property, where I own the recipe, and I go in there and share the recipe with them and show them how I want it done, and I own the recipe and I usually do a non-compete, for 5 years, that they aren't able to make, anything close to what we doing for the next 5.
Super. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, you're clearly the visionary. Can you talk a little bit about your team? Like, who's taking care of all the accounting and financials? Who's doing operations? Who's taking care of all that legal licensing things that Nick was just talking about?
No, but definitely I have a team of lawyers, the company that I hire that takes care of the legal stuff. I kind of handle a lot of operations, in day to day, because we haven't scaled that far yet. But with funding, that's going to help us be able to scale where I can, bring in more quality and more qualified people to help out with certain areas of the business that I'm not necessarily familiar with. But, manufacturing, would like to bring in somebody that kind of specializes in manufacturing on a large scale, and somebody who's more familiar with, licensing deals. But as far as like creating recipes and products, I mean, I could do that all day long.
Pretty sure you're about to be slammed with a bunch of emails after this presentation. So any other questions from our judges?
I've got a quick one. Thank you. Chef Matt, I want to understand, other than your sales channel, other than your website, which I've been on, which looks really great. And by the way, I'd love to try some of that habanero honey. That looks really good. The cinnamon honey looks really good. But I want to understand the sales channel. Is it just through your website? How else are the products being sold? And to follow up on that and some of the other questions that have been posed, how are the products formulated? Is it something that you'd find appetizing and then decide to go ahead and bring to market? Can you describe that process a bit?
Yeah, we figure out a product, and then we have to make sense. Like, is it going to sell to the masses? Just because I think it's a good idea doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell. And then I have to figure out the dosing side of it. Is it, I get with a formulator and say, hey, I want to infuse the honey. Is it going to be water soluble? Is it going to be distillate? Is it going to be isolated? You know what I mean? So there's a process for every recipe that's created. We have to figure out how we're going to do it and which method is going to work the best for it. And then as far as marketing, we just signed on to a 22 distribution for 22 stores. We're doing direct to consumer. We're doing affiliate marketing. We're doing celebrity influencing. I've spoke at almost a shitload of expos. I'm at every expo. I mean, I've just kind of been everywhere for the last few years.
Well, the chat channel is blowing up from people who've been to your events and say the food was amazing.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Right. We've got time for another question.
I just have a quick one. Chef Matt, first off, kudos on everything you've done so far. That's great. Let me ask you this: what's like the 3 or 5 year goal? Because you could have a lot of different branches. Like, do you have a certain goal for 3 years or 5 years for your company or your brand, or where you see yourself going?
I do. The goal in 3 to 5 years is be the go-to brand, the Betty Crocker, the go-to brand for cannabis or CBD. The brand that everybody trusts. Like right now in the cannabis space, there's 1,000 cannabis chefs, but 9 times out of 10, the average cannabis chef is making those oils themselves. Well, the Chef Matt brand is trying to, build a brand that other chefs can use. The brand is trusted, and that way we take the dosing and everything off of your hands, and you can just focus on cooking. And that goes for, the other chefs and people at home. We take care of the dosing for you, if that makes sense.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Matt, did we miss anything? Or do you think we covered it all?
I think we covered it all for the most part. All you can get on 5 minutes, if you know what I mean.
Right? No, I do know. I've had to do it too. It's tough. It's tough. You did a great job. And we're right on schedule still, everyone. So thank you very much, Chef Matt.
Thank you, guys.